Ready. Play.
He's in court. Backhand Sinner cross court. Hurkacz is there with the backhand, but it's well over the baseline. Yannick Sinner is the Halle champion of 2024. What a run to the title. A little bit bumpy, a little bit like today, but there was no doubt in anyone's mind that he was just the margin of difference between him and the field, small but significant, and he will be lifting the trophy in a few minutes. What a performance, Damien.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that especially from set 2 onwards, there was no question anymore who's the better player here. There was no question who is ahead. I mean, he was just generating so many chances, like small chances on the Hurkacz serve. Off the baseline in the first set, it wasn't close. In the second set, maybe it got even easier. Sworna even says that the match was less closer than the scoreline suggests. I actually don't think that, because I don't know if you watched the first set, but the first set was as tight as nails, and then Hurkacz takes it, and But if you only watch the second, then yeah, the second set was much less close than the scoreline suggests. And yeah, it was pretty overwhelming how Yannick just had all that intensity in his footwork and just kept going at Hurkacz without actually doing damage to him, because, well, it's grass, it's the Hurkacz serve. But in the end, obviously, he won the tiebreak, which, I mean, sometimes it doesn't work like this, right? But in this case, it did. That, like, the player who was dominating in the set also took the tiebreaker.
Yeah, absolutely. And you would have expected that, right? It does happen sometimes, but maybe not to the people who are maybe who are of the caliber and the bringing level that Yannick Sinner is in Halle and is in 2024. And you would imagine, given his Wimbledon grass court record, only losing Djokovic in the last couple of years, that he is pretty solid favourite for the title right now. I mean, Snehill is asking, he doesn't know who stops Sinner from winning Wimbledon. There is one name that's obvious. Carlos Alcaraz.
Some big hitter early on as well. Like, I don't know, Matteo Berrettini in the second round or something like that. But yeah, I mean, Alcaraz Sinner, kind of have to favor Sinner just by a tiny bit, just like you kind of had to favor Alcaraz just by a tiny bit at the French, but certainly not impossible. But yeah, he looks strong. I know he's had some tight matches here. Marozsan, Zhang, even Greek sport. Honestly, every single match of Sinner has been tight, but that's grass for you right there, right? But yeah, it's gonna be very tricky for him to get stopped there. It has to be like someone very early in the event just having an absolute blinder. I think some sort of big hitter. I don't know who that will be. Maybe we'll know more about the draw. And otherwise, like, if he gets to the quarters, I think I like his chances against anyone. But, well, I still like his chances against Alcaraz, but at least it would be pretty tight.
I mean, Roger Federer won Halle 10 times, and at least a few of those were kind of rocky runs to those titles. I do feel like the best of 3, he did get pushed a little bit, certainly in terms of score lines. Anyway, if you look at it on paper, very similar to how Yannick's come through on paper on score lines. Not that easy. So obviously, we're not necessarily comparing Sinner to Federer, but it might be a similar achievement. Snehill, the Wimbledon draw is at Friday at 10 a.m. UK time.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember it. Wimbledon's the one Grand Slam that waits for the qualifiers to be placed, the qualifying to be done before doing it. But yeah, it's confirmed. It's going to be Friday at 10 a.m. GMT. Yeah, so they're already doing the kind of ceremony. I just want to ask you, Damien, sort of a note on Hurkacz. Mm-hmm. You kind of started the stream by saying Hurkacz potentially third favourite for Wimbledon, behind Sinner and Alcaraz. The performance today 2 tiebreak losses. Maybe just basically not letting Sinner using his momentum to run away with the second set and keeping up with him. That's probably, I think, even in defeat, this performance isn't changing that in your mind, is it?
No, not really. I mean, he played one of the top 2 guys, right? First set, he easily could have won it. I mean, there's always a chance in the tiebreaks, even if the second set didn't seem like it, because Sinner was dominating from the first ball to the last. He would not be the favorite over Sinner or Alcaraz at Wimbledon, but I'm kind of struggling to find a player I would not consider him the favorite over at Wimbledon at this stage, other than these 2. So, and again, that's assuming Djokovic won't play / won't be fit enough to, be a beast there.
Yeah.
If Djokovic comes in, sure. If Djokovic is playing just like he was last year in 2022, okay, yeah, that's a third player. But you give him Medvedev, you give him Zverev, and I think he's the favorite. So
yeah, I'm kind of going to assume that Djokovic is, if he's playing, he's fighting fit. And until I see him walk out on court and show that he's not, then that's going to be my assumption. Yes, Ashley, Djokovic is trying to play Wimbledon. He flew to London yesterday, so he is in the country. We did talk about the new serving rules, Ghosty. I think we just talked about the fact that they were there. I didn't realise, but I'm up for trying it, and I don't have a problem with them.
Yeah, I mean, I think 25 seconds, it's obvious that the shot clock actually did not speed up the game in general, because players are now kind of using that time to its fullest, at least some of them. So I don't really mind it. I think 25 is okay. I've also been an advocate for that 15-second rule when there's an ace unreturned serve or a double fault and you don't need to go to the towel. So yeah, I'm fine with it. I think Carlos maybe is like a little exaggerating like how fast it is. It can be a problem on some bigger arenas though. Like, you could imagine at the French, for example, on Philippe Chatrier, maybe having a hard time going to the towel. I don't know. But certainly it feels like, to me at least, I think the game could be sped up. Presently, it's not the biggest issue, not the biggest concern for me, but I would like it to speed up over the course of the next years, this one way or another, to sort of make sure that we remain entertaining for new audiences.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, isn't it? I don't think they need to change too much about tennis. I disagree with a lot of Mark Petchey's takes on the topic, but I do think that the existing structure just needs to flow a bit better. But
you don't want the players to get just 5-second serves a set?
No. What was that rule? I mean, it would be basically resetting the tennis rules back to what they were 100 years ago, or over 100 years ago, where you only did get one serve. I think it was like the 1930s where they introduced second serves.
My main concern is that it would be very tricky to follow. Like, let's imagine just someone getting into, tennis is already tricky to follow as like a first-time watcher, right? The scoreboard and stuff. And let's also add that into the conversation. Like, that's not going to happen. And I don't see the need for it either. Yeah. Let's say that. But yeah, that was a bit of a weird take for sure. Someone sent it to me with the note. This should be sort of put on "Don't do drugs, kids" posters, which I found a bit funny.
I think there's a sense with a lot of these ideas of an assumption that younger fans have short attention spans and therefore we need to do something to speed things up. I think the truth is actually that's not the case. It's just old people making assumptions. But anyway, I think let's go back to sort of what happened today. Jannik Sinner. Obviously, I think we talked a lot about him, his prospects for Wimbledon, like clear favourite, things like that. Are you? How surprised are you that his run to the Halle title, the Struff match aside, was relatively simple?
Ashley, when it comes to that, this is the change that they had here. Like it's not really included. Like, what do you mean? The umpire starts the shot clock usually when they announce the score. However, at Queens and Halle, they introduced this change that the shot clock actually starts when the point is over, so it's a little faster. So, like, going for the towel is kind of included in the shot clock because 25 seconds is enough. But like, the umpire does not start the shot clock when you're at the towel. No, in that sense, no. And I don't think the Sinner run was relatively straightforward. Like, of course, there was the set he lost to Hurkacz, there was the set he lost to Marozsan. That match was maybe a little more lopsided than it seems. But Struff especially was so tough. I think there were a few very tough matches here. He just was able to get out of it despite the slim margins on grass courts.
Definitely very slim margins. But yeah, at the minute, he's only lost 3 matches all year now. And arguably, had his body not failed him against Tsitsipas and Monte Carlo, it might have only been 2, and Alcaraz literally being the only one able to stop him. It does. At what point do we start talking about Sinner dominance? Does he need to be holding the Wimbledon trophy?
Sorry, come again?
At what point do we start talking about Sinner dominance, or does he need to be holding the Wimbledon trophy before that becomes a topic of conversation?
Kind of already there. I mean, 38-3 for the year, right? I think he's clearly been the best player of the season, even if he didn't win Roland Garros. So I think it, as a whole, like, this season has been dominated by Jannik Sinner. Yes, that might change, of course. Let's say Alcaraz picks up Wimbledon, and then we actually have a conversation. But I mean, when you're 38-3 for the year, it's pretty clear who the best player of the year was, unless he didn't have a slam in it, but he does.
Yeah, the Australian. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it does, it to an extent, it feels a little bit like the mid-2000s where you had Federer winning everything apart from on clay, or Nadal pushing him whenever they played, unless it was indoors. This was before Rafa really unlocked things anyway, in sort of the late 2000s. But it maybe has that feel to it, as that, like, against anyone else, Sinner's the heavy favourite. Against Alcaraz, it's 50-50. Depending on surface and whatnot, like, there are people who, like, there are certain scenarios like Indian Wells or on clay where Alcaraz is the slight favourite. But if you super generalise it. Right, we're almost there, I think, in terms of Hurkacz is just doing his runners-up speech. Looks like the Queen's final might be over very, very soon as well, with Paul very much in control of that. But yeah, I guess, Damien, any final thoughts before we kind of wrap up here?
Yeah, not really. I mean, let's just wrap it up, and I'm off to do Wimbledon qualifying content.
Okay, let's let Damien do his Wimbledon qualifying content. I also probably need a couple of hours off because I'm going to be doing WTA Weekly in a couple of hours, so I need some time to go and watch what the heck happened in that Berlin final. Because obviously I've been watching this with Damien. Maybe I'll catch up on the Kieran Gold Cup stream as well, get their thoughts. But thanks everyone for coming over and joining us after that. Thanks for everyone who's been with us since the start. If you did enjoy the stream, give us a like so people can find our content in the future. Subscribe as well if you are new. We'd love to have you along for the ride because we've got plenty planned for Wimbledon coming up. Obviously, this week is we've got Eastbourne, Bad Homburg, and Mallorca happening. Jannik Sinner is now stepping up to take the trophy. But even if you're not necessarily looking forward to super long term, I would definitely encourage you to stick around for our WTA Weekly show, which is happening in a couple of hours, the ATP Weekly, which is happening later on today with Damien and Vanch. I'll be doing the WTA Weekly Show as Yannick Sinner picks up a trophy and a check and awkwardly holds one in each hand. And he stands there. He is the Halle champion. And that's the most important thing to remember when I see you again. But in the meantime, take care and keep talking tennis.
Okay, we'll start with English questions. Yannick, congrats. Your first grass court title. What does that mean to you and how do you feel?
Yeah, it means a lot to me. I mean, it was a very tough match today. I knew this before the match, so I tried to serve well in my service games, and obviously happy to win here my first grass court title.
Questions. Bill, please.
Yannick, congratulations. How much do you think you've improved your grass since last year's, say, Wimbledon semi-final, and how do you see going into Wimbledon this year?
It's a little bit different this year in Wimbledon. Now obviously I have 1 week to prepare it in the best possible way. I'm going to London quite early. I'm gonna rest a couple of days and then hopefully be ready. It has improved for sure, but I think the general level has improved. I mean, I serve a little bit better, which helps a lot in this surface, and trying to return a little bit more aggressive. And obviously happy about this here, but Wimbledon is a different tournament. Let's see what I can do there.
Do you think you can fight for the title along with the other state finalists?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, there is. It's always tough to say. Grand Slams are different, but yeah, I mean, I will try my best, and then we'll see what everyone does there in London.
Anything more in English? Yes.
What do you think you've most developed in your grass court game that you need today?
I think the when you play someone like Hubi, you play just a couple of important points throughout the whole set. And today we had twice the tie break, and then I started off twice better. Breaking him first, the mini breaks, and this helps you then a little bit also with the confidence. You can serve a little bit freer, and I think that's it. I tried to stay still quite aggressive. The grass was much more used today, so it was a little bit easier also how to move, and yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you. Fragen auf Deutsch bitte. Jörg.
Es gibt ja schlechtere Wege als Nummer 1 zu starten, als vielleicht ein Turnier zu gewinnen, oder?
Ja, sicherlich. Nein, logischerweise das bedeutet mir sehr viel. Ich hatte eine schwierige Woche, 3-mal im dritten Satz, dann Halbfinale in 2 und heute auch in 2, aber heute könnte das Resultat auch für ihn ausgehen, weil 2-mal Tiebreak, das ist keine Garantie, deswegen ich habe heute die wichtigen Punkte vielleicht ein bisschen besser interpretiert, und ich glaube, das war heute auch der Schlüssel.
Vor 5 Jahren als Qualifikant mit Weltranglistenplatz 209 hier in Halle. Können Sie sich noch an das Jahr erinnern? Wir haben mal gegen Joao Sosa verloren.
Ja, ich kann mich noch erinnern. Ich habe gegen ihn gespielt. Dann, ich glaube, das nächste Jahr dann habe ich gegen ihn in Australian Open die erste Runde gespielt gegen Joao Sosa. Deswegen, ich kann mich schon noch ein bisschen erinnern. Ich war noch sehr jung. Physisch war ich noch nicht bereit, um mehrere Spiele hintereinander zu spielen. Jetzt bin ich auch ein bisschen gewachsen und ein bisschen stärker geworden. Ich glaube, das ist für mich, das war für mich sehr, sehr wichtig, weil Tennis wird immer mehr physischer und schneller. Deswegen muss man immer bereit sein, jede Woche, dass man physisch fast zu 100% ist.
Bitte schön.
Ich bin so einer, der bei den wichtigen Punkten manchmal auch schneller spielen will. Deswegen auch ein bisschen aggressiver, aber trotzdem, man muss halt aufpassen, überhaupt beim Tiebreak, wenn ich serviere, dass ich die 2 Servierpunkte nach Hause spielen kann und dann bin ich ein bisschen freier bei den Return-Spielen. Aber generell ist, wenn man immer nur von Tiebreak redet, es kann in beiden Seiten gehen. Man hat keine Garantie, deswegen er hatte zwei oder dreimal mit zweiten Aufschlag gespielt, auch das war eine kleine Hilfe. Ja, das ist das.
Sie haben Ihre Freundin auf dem Tennisplatz erwähnt, das Finale in Berlin, Ihr Finale in Halle hier heute. Vielleicht wird es die Fans auch interessieren. Ist das nur, dass Sie über Tennis sprechen oder haben Sie auch Lust?
Wir haben uns auch, ja, wir reden nicht über privates Leben mit Journalisten, deswegen tut mir leid.
Gibt es noch Fragen? Couple of Italian questions. Matteo, La Repubblica.
L'ultima sono rapidissima. Mi è sembrato di vederla sorridere molto in campo, si è divertito più del solito?
Ma più del solito non lo so, ma cerco sempre di divertirmi abbastanza e ovviamente giocando tante partite, tanti tornei di fila, se uno non si diverte è molto difficile, quindi niente, ci sono dei momenti dove sono molto serio, ma ovviamente anche dei momenti dove cerco, ecco, di divertirmi.
Giocare da numero 1 del mondo è diverso, insomma, il primo vero torneo, la prima vittoria sull'erba, è stato un po' diverso vincere questo torneo.
Un po' diverso sì, ma nel momento quando entri in campo sai che tutti ti vogliono battere, e nessuna partita è una garanzia perché come abbiamo visto non solo oggi ma credo tutta la settimana ogni partita è molto difficile, si giocano pochi punti soprattutto su questa superficie di punti importanti, quindi no, devo dire che secondo me oggi ho giocato un'ottima partita e quindi adesso vediamo come va a Londra.
Mi è sembrato di vedere in tribuna il tuo papà, credo fosse, no? Ho visto anche un abbraccio alla fine particolare, lui non viene spessissimo.
No.
È stato particolare per te?
No, mi ha chiamato ieri dopo la semi, ha detto che viene su per la finale, mi ha fatto molto piacere, c'era anche il fratello di mio papà, quindi non era da solo e ovviamente mi ha fatto solo che piacere che è riuscito, ecco, a venire, normalmente non viene spesso a vedermi, quindi era molto bello.
L'ultima, diciamo che ultimamente c'è una curiosità morbosa su di te, soprattutto in Italia, si vuole sapere tutto, parlare, sapere i segreti, le scaramanzie, ovviamente diventando numero 1 un po' aumenta, inizia a pesarti un po' questa situazione, tutte queste attenzioni.
No, sono uno che è molto, molto riservato anche con le dichiarazioni che faccio, quindi non do tanto spazio, ecco, a farvi scrivere tante cose, quindi sto vivendo molto tranquillamente, molto bene la mia vita sportiva e anche la mia vita privata, quindi sono molto felice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The ID. Wie letztes Mal?
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.